Okay, I think this is going. So let me give everybody a copy of that review packet if you didn't already get it. Oh, and I've got the mouse right in the way. Okay, guys, if you didn't get this review packet, come on up and grab it right now.
Oh, Miss David, I never got my with that. I did it like the day after. Is this a review packet? Beautiful.
Jack, did I grade it?
I don't know.
Might not have done. I will. All right, everybody, so let me get this mouse out of the way. I'm thinking maybe I'll do one from each section real quick, because we don't really have a ton of time either.
No, this stated there's none left. Oh, this it's like an extra. Oh,
I just.
Thanks, I like this guy. Thanks.
Okay, so if we take a look at the first four, you are solving these. So you're gonna have a section that's just like this. If you recall, whenever you have four terms, that's when you're just splitting it in two and you're gonna factor. So let's just do this one real quick. Once you pull out an x squared, 2x minus 3. And then from this side, you pull out a -2. Or no, I'm sorry, -1. See how the parentheses match? Right, so then your factors are x squared minus 1 and 2x minus 3.
Can you do it? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Get that in focus. But you're not done yet, right? Because doesn't that factor even more? Right, that one splits into x plus 1, x minus 1. So when your directions are to solve, you have to tell me what the answers are for x. If it was just factor, you would stop right here and you'd be done. But solving, that's when you set each of these equal to 0. How many answers should I be getting out? 3. You know that because that's the exponent, right? So there should be 3 answers. Looks like I get -1, +1, and that'll be what, 3/2? And there they are. Right? When you see something like number 2, this is factoring like normal. The only change is you're looking for that quadratic pattern, right? See how that's x to the 4th and that's x squared and there's no x at all over here. That means you factor it just like you normally would if it was anything else. The only difference is you make these x squareds instead of just x's. That's it. So I still want factors of -36, I have to be -5. So normally it'd be a -5 and a or -9 and a +4. Right? Factors of -36, I have to be -5, but to account for those, I make those squareds. How many answers should I get before I keep going, by the way? I should have asked you that.
Yeah.
There should be 4, right? Because that's the exponent. There should be 4 total answers to this. If you see x squared minus 9, I hope you're saying, ooh, difference of 2 perfect squares. That's x plus 3x minus 3. What happens over here? Does that split? No, if it's not the difference of 2 perfect squares, it does not split. That's it. So now I set each one equal to 0.
Wait,
Yeah.
why couldn't I do the same thing like why can't I do x plus 2, x plus 2?
If you FOIL that back together, you don't get x squared plus 4. That would be x squared plus 4x plus 4. Right?
But how does it work with the other?
Because when you FOIL these two together, the inside and outside cancel, because you have,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay, I get it.
So it's gotta be difference of two perfect squares. So one answer is a -3, one answer is a +3. And then this, I don't know what the answers are, so I'm just gonna come over here real quick. I'll set it equal to 0 and I'm gonna solve it. I'm gonna minus that 4 over. So now what do I do?
Root it.
And what is the square root of -4? Plus or minus 2 I. Right, because that -1. And if you had forgotten the plus minus, if you stop to check yourself and say, oh, I should have had 4 answers to this. If you only had 3, that would help be a little reminder to you. Oh, I'm missing 1 still. And then you remember, oh yeah, I gotta do plus minus. Okay, I know I said I'd only do 1 from each section, but these are so different, so. 3, at first glance, you're like, oh my gosh, this looks horrible. It's not that bad. You can FOIL it all out and turn it back into standard form if you want, but it's much easier to just say for a second, hey, let me just pretend that y is equal to x plus 3. That makes this thing y squared plus 4y plus 3. That's very easy. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a little bit off. So if I just take that thing and just use a different variable just for a minute, because this you can factor all day. That's just y plus 1, y plus 3. And now this thing's completely factored. So now I can go back and say, okay, well, I didn't really have y's. Let me swap back in those x plus 3's.
What happens to the y? Y equals x plus 3.
Because I don't want to factor this, because that would be a nightmare. So if I just pick a variable to represent y plus 3, I get to deal with this instead, which is way easier. And now I'm just putting those x plus 3's back in. So what do I really get? X plus 4 and x plus 6, which means my 2 answers are just -4, -6. That's not bad. Does that make sense? Everybody's all right? And then let's just talk about number 4 real fast, because this one doesn't factor. So if you're supposed to solve it, what are you supposed to do if you can't factor it? What's the matter? You want this still? Use the quadratic formula or complete the square. I don't care which you use. I would complete the square on number 4 because it's really not bad. All the conditions are perfect for completing the square. What are those conditions I'm talking about? A is 1 and B is even. If that's the case, completing the square is super easy. You just gotta remember the steps. Step 1, move C to the other side. So I'm gonna subtract 1 from both sides.
Do we have to do this on the side? For that one?
No, you could do quad formula if you wanted. But those are your only 2 options because you can't factor this. Now, I need my magic number. Half of B squared. 4 in this case, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. On the right, -1 plus 4 is just 3. On the left, I've just factored that. Factors of 4, that adds to be 4, 2 and 2. So we write it like that. And then I square root. Yep. Don't forget that the square root of 3 has 2 answers, right? It's plus and minus square root of 3. And then just minus that 2 over. Ta-da! There's my 2 answers. Done.
Isn't it just one though? Because
Because you have -2 plus root 3 and -2 minus root 3. That's 2 different answers. All right. The next section, you have to convert from standard form to vertex form. So let's do the more difficult one, number 6 together. So you have a couple of ways to go about this. All right. One way is to, I will never understand. All right, anyway, one way is to just find the vertex like you normally would, negative b over 2a. Take that answer, plug it in. So now you know what the vertex is. So if you know vertex form, just pop in HK and you already know what A is, it's 3. So that's an option. We had another way to do it where we're basically completing the square. We just do it all in the same line. So what you had to do for that one is you have to have A be 1. So first I'm going to factor out a 3. I'm going to leave myself a little space here. So that would be 5 over 3. Oh, I need some space before and after. So I forced out a 3. Now I again want my magic number, which in this case would be 1, because I want half of b. So half of 2 is 1, and then 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to add 1 and subtract 1 right in the same line. But I'm going to make my life easier. Instead of writing it as a 1, can I write it as 3 over 3? Just so that I have matching denominators, just saving myself that little bit of work there. And now this chunk is always going to be a perfect square trinomial. So factors of 1 that have to be 2 are 1 and 1. So don't I write that as x plus 1, the whole thing squared? And now I can do 5/3 minus 3/3. Isn't that just 2/3? And then the only thing I have left to do is to distribute that 3. And I'm done. So I multiply the 3 here and here. My final answer is 3 times x plus 1 plus 2. Ta-da! This is the exact same equation as this thing up here. It's just now you've shifted it from standard form into vertex form. You can check these answers. Plug in any number up here, see what answer you get, and it should be the same thing down here. Like watch, if I plug in 0 to the top, don't I get out 5? Right? If you plug in 0 for x, you get out 5. So when I plug in 0 to my new equation, I better get out 5. Let's try. 0 plus 1 is 1, squared is 1, times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Yes. Oh my gosh. Math is the best. It is. It's got your back all the time. Okay. 7. We gotta sketch this thing, find the vertex, zeros, y-intercept, blah, 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 all this. If you forget everything, you can still graph this thing. Just start plugging in numbers. Plug in 0, plug in 1, plug in 2, plug in 3. It's going to take you a while and you may not get it perfect, but it's going to give you a real good representation. I hope that you're beyond that. I hope you do have an idea of how to graph this, and you start by finding the vertex. If it's in standard form, how do you find the vertex? Negative b over 2a. So that'll be a negative 15 over negative 4. Good thing we have calculators. So 3.75. All right, so my vertex is at 3.75, comma.
Oh, and then you plug that in.
Exactly. So again, I'm going to grab my calculator to do this work because I don't want to deal with it. I got 10.125.
How do you just find that? It's 10 point.
I took 3.75 and I plugged it in for x. Did anybody else get that? Just double check me. You did? Okay. So there's my vertex. Of course, that's not convenient on my graph, but I'll have each of these stand for 2. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we're approximating here. Do I want, let's see. I'll leave these as 1s. So if I'm going to plot that vertex, 3.75, 10.125, I'm right about there. Oops, sorry, I'm a little bit off. This one is not going to be very convenient for me to do the whole, remember the 135 and we multiply by A? It's not gonna be convenient here because I'm not starting at a nice point. So, but you know what? It doesn't matter because I have to find my zeros anyway. So I'm gonna find where this thing crosses. So I'll have my curve that way. All right. Once you have the vertex, you already have the axis of symmetry. So let's fill it in. What is it? X equals 3.75. You have to write the x equals part, right? Because it's a line. You gotta give me the equation of a line. So there's that. Let's do y-intercept is super easy. What's that? -18. So when you plug in 0, you get out -18. So there's my y-intercept, which is way off my grid. That's okay. So now let's find those zeros. How do you do that? Well, you replace y with a 0, and now you just solve this quadratic, just like you did numbers 1 through 4. So figure out which way is going to be best. Maybe this like factors, maybe it doesn't. I have no idea. So let's see. I'm going to try it. First, I hate when my leading coefficient is negative. So I'm just going to divide everything by a -1. You don't have to do that, but I can't stand it when it's negative. So I'm going to try and factor it. So I do slide and divide. You do what you do. I'm looking for factors of 36 that have to be a -15. -12 and -3. Yeah, perfect. So this thing does factor. That's a good sign. Right, I multiplied by 2, so now I gotta divide by 2. I did the slide, I gotta do the divide. So now I've got x minus 6. This doesn't reduce, so that just becomes 2x minus 3, which means my x-intercepts are at +6 and +3/2. And if I look at my graph, +6 would be like right there, and +1.5. This all jives with what, because what kind of is this parabola, up like a cup or down like a frown? Down like a frown, because A is negative. So look, everything is coming up like a beautiful parabola. Look at that. Oops. It's looking symmetrical besides that mark that I made. So my zeros, I'm pretty sure that they're right. It looks symmetrical. It doesn't look like, because sometimes kids will mess up and they'll get like +1.5 and then like -6. Well, that wouldn't make any sense because the vertex has to be halfway in between them. But that looks pretty good. So now I have my zeros, 6 and 3/2. So hey, that's the one you should be shouting from the rooftops.
Oh, yeah.
Reals, hooray! That's our easiest one. And the range is y is less than or equal to 10.125. How do you know? I'm looking at the graph, right? The highest y value I ever get is at the vertex. In this case, it's 10.125. So I'm only going to get y values that are less than that. So all of my y's will be less than or equal to 10.125. Yes. We okay so far? All right. There's a note sheet that I gave you that I list out exactly how to do each one.
Where is it?
I don't know where you
I
put
don't
it.
have it.
Yes, I gave it with one of the, when we went over it the first time.
No, I wasn't here when we went over these graphs. That's why I did so bad on my last thing, because I didn't know how to do graphs.
I don't know what else to tell you. You've done them in algebra 1 and 2. That's the, literally you have this question. You did exactly, you may not have done the vertex form in algebra 1, but you did in algebra 2. But I will give you another copy of that note sheet. We gotta fly through this because we don't have a lot of time. This one's in vertex form. So you can look at this one and tell me what the vertex is. What is it?
-1, 4.
-1, -4. It's always the opposite of that guy. And then whatever that one is, you leave it as you see it. So -1, -4. All right, great. So that means you know the axis of symmetry. You already know the domain. All reals. We can find the y-intercept real fast. 0, comma, what? I don't know, I didn't do it. Let's see. Yes, right? If you plug in 0 for x, don't you get out a -1 for y? So look at my graph. Oh, look, we get a freebie point. If there's my y-intercept, we can mirror that over to the other side. Oh, and we can do the whole graph, can't we? Because you have your axis of symmetry right here. Right? Doesn't it go right through the vertex? And here we can follow the 1, 3, 5 shortcut. A is 3, right? So I'm going to multiply all these by 3. So I'm going to go up 3, then I go up 9, then I go up 15. So from the vertex, I'd go up 3/1, which, yeah, that lines up with what we just did. Then to get my next point, I'd be going up 9. So from this point, I'd count up 9 now.
Wait, so you can only do the 1, 2, 5 for like the vertex one?
No, you can do it with anyone, but if your vertex doesn't start at a nice lattice point, like in the last one, remember how the vertex was all those decimals?
Yeah.
Because now it's hard to count like 3 down, you know what I mean? Because it's weird. You can approximate, but with a nice one, it's very easy to just count the boxes, but the pattern still holds no matter what. Okay, great. I got my graph. My zeros, I can't tell where they are from my graph, so I'd actually have to do that out. How do you find the zeros in when it's given to you in this form? You always set it equal to 0, right? And then don't to make your life harder. Some of you are gonna FOIL this out and turn it into standard form. Stop. Would you just add the 4, divide by 3, and then square root both sides? Don't make your life harder than it has to be. Get the thing being squared by itself. I mean, you're not wrong if you do it the other way. You're just wasting so much time. I got to square root both sides. Unfortunately for me, the square root of 3 isn't nice. So remember how we fix it? You got to multiply top and bottom by square root of 3. So don't I really get? When I put parentheses, I don't know. I just have x plus 1 on the left, and then on the right, the square root of 4. First of all, I need plus minus. Square root of 4 is just 2, so I have 2 root 3 over 3. And now I'll just minus that 1 over. So my final answer for my x intercept is going to be -1 plus minus. Oh, sorry. -1 plus minus 2 root 3 over 3. Yep. It is. This one's a bit much. Bless you. But you're a Tantasquin and you can do it. And how about that range? Greater than or equal to -4. There you go. All right, there's our graphs. Now let's talk about writing the equation of the quadratics. It has a vertex of this and it passes through this. If they give you the vertex, what form should you be using? Vertex form, yes, which is this one. X minus h squared plus k. On the quiz that we had on this, a lot of people forgot the squared. And the other thing that's crucial is you got to know who's hk and who's x and y. Who's h and k? The vertex, you have to put this one for h, this one for k, and then your other point is just x and y. All right, so you plug in all 4 of these things. We don't know what a is yet. That's what we're trying to find.
positive minus K, but.
You sure?
Yeah.
So for A, 2 minus 4 is negative 2 squared is really 4, so I really have 4A there. So what's A? Yes. Once you know what A is, you're plugging in A, H, and K. Those three things get plugged. Oh no, it froze. God. So anyway, you plug in A, H, and K. This better not mess up my video. Oh dear. All right, there we go. Let's hope it's still recording. I mean, I know it's recording, but I hope it's still the right screen. Yeah. Oh my God. That'll go so fast. I don't have your, oh boy. Oh, yeah. I have no idea. Okay. So when you plug in A, H, and K, it's gonna look like A is just 1. Ta-da! There is your final answer for 9. 10. This one's a little bit different. It's giving me the zeros. And it's telling me it has a maximum value of 3.
So it's like.
Yes, these are my x-intercepts. So that's P, that's Q. So I'm using this. Now, they didn't just come right out and say, hey, here's some other random point. They just gave me a maximum value of 3. So they gave me half of a point. Maximum values occur where? At the vertex. So they're telling me that the maximum value that I'll ever get is 3. That means they gave me the y coordinate of the vertex. I need the x coordinate of the vertex. And I claim you know what it is with only doing a little bit of math. Not a ton, just a little bit. I heard someone say negative b over 2a. The problem is I don't have an equation to, I don't know who a, b, and c are. Shout out the answer if you know what it is. What'd you say? 3? No. It's not 3, but you're real close. It's 2. Why? Because doesn't the vertex have to happen exactly halfway in between -3 and 7? Right? Those are the zeros. Remember, it's got to be halfway between. So if I add -3 and 7 together, that's 4 divided by 2, I get 2. That's, and I know now you know what the vertex is. I still would not use vertex form. I'm just going to plug this in for one of my random points. That's X, that's Y. I have all the pieces. It's okay. So I'm popping everything in. 3, I don't know what A is. X is 2 minus -3 turns into a plus. X is 2 again, minus 7. Now we can solve for A. So that's 5, that's -5, -25A.
Why is the vertex like now X and Y?
Because I already have P and Q, so all I need is some other point. It doesn't matter if that other point happens to be the vertex or just some random point that they give me. So I'm just treating it like X and Y because that's all I need to get where I want to go. Did anybody else get -3/25 for A? Perfect. So now what do? I plug in P, Q, and A. Pop it into my formula and I'm done. There it is. Okay, last one. Let's look. We talked about a shortcut when things are weird. So let's see, bless you.
This is the same thing.
You can do the same thing that you did in number 10 if you want to. Things get a little crazy when you have to multiply it all out. So we did have a shortcut that will make our lives a little bit easier. So since I already went through how to do it the old fashioned way in number 10, you can do that. This is the shortcut. X squared minus, yep, the sum of zeros. And plus the product of the zeros. Okay. By the way, you could have also used this for number 10. So if you like this shortcut, you can use that. All right, so I have to find the sum and the product. So I'll do that over here. So if I add my two zeros together, what do I get? Two. Okay, cool. Now let's find the product. So real quick, I'm going to multiply them. So I got a FOIL. Outsides, insides will, excuse me, always cancel. And then negative root 5 times positive root 5 is negative 5. So 1 minus 5, I'm getting a negative 4 for that product. So there's my two special numbers. So I'm going to come right over here and I'm going to pop in those special numbers. So minus the sum, so that's minus 2x plus the product minus 4. So now I'm almost done. All I need is to figure out what A is, and they gave me an X and a Y. So let's just pop in that X and Y, and I'll be able to figure out A. So if X is 0, that just gets a negative 4 there, right? So I get 5/4.
Yeah.
Put all my pieces together. Oh, here I'm just taking this equation and I'm plugging in my extra point, 0, negative 5 for X and Y. So Y was negative 5. Since X was 0, all these just went away, right? And I only had negative 4 left. Yeah, so if it was a number, I'd plug it in and, well, I mean, not that 0 is not a number, but there you go. If, by the way, if you had to give this answer in standard form, I can now just distribute that 5/4. So if you're doing it the old way, you'd have to multiply all that out. Okay. All right. So yeah.
For like number 12,
Oh.
how do we find like X of it if it's in like, if it's in like that one, is 0?
You're still gonna add them together, divided by 2. So it would just be,
Wouldn't it just be 0? I mean, it would be 8 or something.
well, let's try your other 0. What's the other? If they give you this, what's the other one?
It's 4 minus root 3.
Or minus root 3. So if you're gonna add these two together, you get 8
Yeah.
divided by 2 would be at 4. So they would be at 4, 4 would be your extra point. All right, so let's jump to 14. Because 13 is pretty similar. All right, so 14 is one of the ones where you have 3 points. This one's gonna work out kind of, does this one? Yeah, this one will make our lives a little bit easier, but recall what you're doing. You're taking all 3 points. And you've got to write an equation for all 3 points. Oops. Well, that's giving you an X value is -7 with a maximum value of 3. So you really have a vertex at -7, 3. So I'd plug that in for HK and then use that as XY. All right, so this one, -1, 10. So recall what you're doing when you have 3 points. You're using this equation, y = ax squared plus bx plus c. And you're going to plug in X and Y for each of the 3 points to create a new equation. So the first one would look like 6 = A times 0 squared plus B times 0 plus C. So when you clean it up, this one just so happens to become really easy. And we already know what C is, so we already have an answer for that. But the other ones, so because that's not always going to happen, right? So I'm just plugging in X and Y to each thing and then cleaning it up. So this one looks like, and this one, just in the interest of time, I'll just do the cleaned up one. So -1 squared is 1 minus B plus C. So normally you don't automatically have one of your answers. You would have 3 equations that have A, B's, and C's in them. And then remember how we talked about you want to solve that system with elimination and get rid of the C's. I feel like you guys were pretty good with that section. Am I right? So let's just finish this problem and then we can go on to the word problem super fast. We already know what C is, so let's just take these two. I already have a pair of opposites with the B's. So I might as well just add these two together. Yeah, so let's put in, if I'm going to add these two, let's make these both 6s. And if I add them, I get 14, 2A plus 12. Right, so 2 equals, looks like A is going to be 1. And now all I have to find is B. So if I go back to one of the originals, let's take that middle one. 4 equals 1 plus B plus 6. So that's 7, -3. Yeah, you guys agree? And then I just plug it all in. A is 1, B was -3, C is 6. I believe there is one problem like this, and I am almost positive that the numbers are all nice. So if you get decimals, fractions, something's not going right. All right, so real quick, let's get to this word problem. I can't believe I'm gonna do it. I hope so. All right, first of all, let's see. So first of all, I would give you this. That G is 16. So I would give you that. Normally we just started off with a -16 right there. I don't know why they just left it as G. But I can now plug in my initial velocity and the height. So my original equation should look like this. -16 t squared, that would be given to you. Plus an initial velocity, wasn't that 25? And the starting height is 4.
What is like, you know, it says V and then 0 T.
Yeah, so V sub 0 is your initial velocity. And then H sub 0 is your initial height. Okay, so you want to grab a graphing calculator real fast? You can do it without if you want, but you'll have access to a graphing calculator. So I'm going to show you how to do it on there. So if you want to grab one and practice with me, you can. If you want to just watch me, you can. All right, so I got to type in the equation 16. We use X for T plus 25X plus 4. I'm going to start with zoom 6, +10 to -10, just see what I get. See what I can see. Okay, almost all of it. I just need to go a little bit higher on the Y. So I like to, and also notice I don't need any of these X's, like that's too much. So when I go to the window, I might want, I don't need to go all the way out to -10 on the X axis. Maybe I'll go to like -2 on the Y, or on the maximum side. Maybe I go up to, I don't know, 6. On the Y's, I had to go higher. So let's go up to, I don't know, 30. See what comes out. All right, I'm gonna go, I didn't have to go quite up to 30, so let's go to 20. That's fine, I can see everything I need to see. So what do you want to find first? Let me find the vertex and then you tell me what questions that answers. Second calc, maximum. Got the blinky guy. Make sure he's to the left of the vertex. Hit enter. Make sure he's to the right of the vertex. Hit enter. Hit enter one more time. All right. So I have these numbers down here. What questions are they answering? In other words, what question will have the answer of 0.78? Is it A, B, C, or D? Or D? Well, it's one of the four. Lock your answer in, Patrick. It's C. The x coordinate of the vertex is the time it took to get to that maximum height. That's what C is asking. When does the ball reach its maximum height? After 0.78 seconds. So who has the answer of 13.77? The y coordinate. Which of these is the answer to? Is it A, B, C? Well, it's not C. Is it A, B, or D? B. How high does the ball go? That's how high. 13 point. If I'm going to round the nearest 10, 13.8. What are we in? Feet? Yeah, feet. How long is the ball in the air? Where would I be looking for that? I'd want to know that x-intercept. That's what I'm looking for, right? Because this is time. So if I can find that, that's when it's going to come back and land on the ground. So let me find that value right there. Second calc, and I choose 2. I want a 0. So I move my blinky guy, make sure he's on the left of the 0, make sure he's on the right of the 0. I hit enter one more time. There it is at 1.7 seconds. So how long is the ball in the air? 1.7 seconds. And then the last one, how long does it take for the ball to reach a height of 10 feet on the way up? 10 feet on the way up. So remember we talked about that cool little trick to do that? You go, does anybody remember? Y equals, and then I just do a second line and I make y equals 10. So there's when the ball's going to reach that height of 10. Remember, it happens twice, once on the way up, once on the way down. They only want the one on the way up. So all I got to do, second calc, and I want an intersection point. So that's 5. The blinky guy, where is he? There he is. It's just saying, hey, what's the first line? That one. Hey, is this the second line? Yep. And then guess is important this time because there's 2 answers. So put the blinky guy near the answer you want. I hit enter. There it is. So I can see, yep, the height is at 10 and the time would be at 0.3 seconds if I'm rounding that. 0.3. You can do all of this by hand. If you want to, you would just set the height equal to 10 and then solve the quadratic, right? Same thing, this, you know how to find the vertex negative b over 2a and then plug it in. How long is the ball in the air? Set the height to 0 and solve the quadratic. So you can do these things by hand if you want. It's just annoying. Yeah.
How long is the ball in the air and they get your zeros?
Yeah.
And then for 10 feet on the way up, you don't use your calculator and set the height equal to 10.
I can't believe I got everything in. Let's hope this recorded. Fingers crossed. It sure is. I will also post an answer key to this.